Buju Nindanawe Maganidak, Andrea Carlson, Nindishinakaz, Mikanak Nindo Dame, Gitcheo Nigaming Ishnakazo Nindishkonegan, Gitche Bitubig, Nindanungum, Mikwech Bizendawieg. I started off my education very formally at the University of Minnesota in American Indian Studies and Art, and I almost went into linguistics because learning Ojibwe language is very hard. Part of learning the language, you learn a lot of teachings and cultural information and stories, and it was kind of impressed upon me that our storytelling, the narratives that come from a long time ago, there's not a lot of these images in our environments. So I was like, I have the ability to paint. I could paint some of these narrative thoughts of Kanag, as a way of kind of respecting that information. I started noticing that what I was doing was actually making a static image for something that's alive. Like thoughts of Kanag are living stories. They're performed, and in that performance, you're giving life to them or you're recreating them. For Ojibwe stories, I am not talking about myth. What I'm talking about is these living beings. We also have histories that are not living. We have information that is historic, or it's just stories and it's not living. But the Atsokanag are living beings. They're performed. They're only told in the winter time. There's a lot of teachings around the Atsokanag, and they're very, very specific. As far as content and things go, there are references that are not for everyone. I can reserve some things for family and people that I respect and honor. Like I can put that in the work and not necessarily divulge it. That's actually an okay place to make art, where you're referencing things that maybe people don't have access to, generally speaking. When you look at my works, there's people who see it as like, this is a huge codex, please help me unpack or, figure this work out. I need knowledge about it. And there's a desire there to kind of decode my work in a way. And I've noticed that there's also that's a power dynamic within itself. Like if someone has knowledge on a thing, then they have some type of ownership over that as well. There's different access points to any work, I think. There's going to be formal access points where people enjoy work and just, how things are put together, their design elements, how things work. And there's going to be access points that are much more, interconnected and much more culturally specific. By working with paper and in multiples, I was able to still make a two-dimensional image, but give it enough space, give information or objects or characters enough space to actually insinuate movement or insinuate a non-static representation, even though it's two-dimensional. Some of the larger scale works, when I was starting to make larger works, I had noticed that the landscape was becoming a much more dominant element in the work. Landscapes are problematic as far as native politics and colonization and settler colonization. And they also come from, in Western art, this history of land possession. Well, I grew up on Rainy Lake and Lake Superior and seeing these endless seascapes, and all information is kind of organized against the shore and that body of water. So when I think of landscapes, I think of Lake Superior. I wanted it to also have that inaccessibility where you couldn't actually step into my landscapes. They are stacked. They're multiple, they're prismatic. We don't have the capacity to enter that because we see the deckled edge of the paper. We see the tooth of the paper and it won't allow us in. And that's almost a metaphor for how I see decolonization and attempts at anti-colonization efforts. They exist in our mind. We're working towards decolonization. We're working towards anti-colonization. And in this space that we're in our mind, where we can hold it in our mind, we have a vision of what it could look like. I can help you imagine it. But we might not be able to get there from here.